All right. Good afternoon, good day, good evening, whenever you're watching this, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sean. I am your physical therapy application coach, and I am here today with one of the best applicants we had this last cycle, Hannah. How are you doing, Hannah?
I'm doing so good. How are you, Sean?
Great. Doing great. Well, Hannah's got quite the story to tell us. So, Hannah, I'm gonna kind of tee you up to give people a little bit of an introduction about you. Tell us a little bit about where you're from, kind of your upbringing, and what led you to just before you started to actually apply to PT school.
Sure. So my name's Hannah. I'm from just north of Los Angeles, California. I went to Cal State Channel Islands where I majored in health sciences and minored in psychology. I've always sort of been interested in the field of like sports and medicine, and like I've always been so fascinated by the human body. I just didn't always know how to express that. So I didn't have a ton of PT experience during my years as an athlete playing volleyball and swimming or anything like that, but I knew I wanted to work with people and with the body. Just wanted to see how that came out. So went to school. My major was very like broad. Health sciences entails nutrition and law and public health and physiology, anatomy, all that stuff. I really fell in love with anatomy. I knew that too because I did it senior year of high school. I did it again freshman year of college. It's like this is really cool. I really enjoy this. And so from there on out, I graduated in 2019. You're now an adult, you're looking for a healthcare job. I started my first job in healthcare was working in an eye doctor office that just opened by my house. I was just looking for something. And then we all know what happened. Beginning of 2020, COVID happened and everything kind of shut down. But it was sort of it sort of helped me think about what I really wanted. It helped me kind of focus what I wanted. And I knew I wanted to do more sports medicine. So while I was working, I was looking at internships in sports medicine just to get a taste of it. I never really had experience with it before. And I found a really incredible sports medicine internship at what used to be called Mamba Sports Academy, which is what Kobe Bryant founded. It's really famous in this area. So I was lucky enough to score an internship there, what is now called Sports Academy. I was there for 6 months. I learned a ton there. It was really cool being in that environment. And then I was like, okay, I think I want to advance in this sports medicine field. And my supervisor was an athletic trainer. And I was like, oh my gosh, sports medicine together, athletic trainer. That sounds great. So there's the local public university by me they just announced a new master's of athletic training program. It's like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. I'll be the first in this class. I'll learn so much. It'll be great. I'll have a master's degree. I'll do what I love. I get through the whole thing. I get into the program because it's the first year of the program. And I go up to the orientation and everything. 6 weeks before the program starts, they canceled the entire program and they deferred it for a year. I was shocked. My jaw dropped. Was thinking about everyone else that had to change everything. I was about to quit my job. Like, what am I gonna do now? Now that everything's sort of uprooted. So
Wow.
I after freaking out, I took a step back and I said,
We didn't
okay,
ever talk
now that
about
I'm
this.
in
This is crazy.
really better.
Keep going. Holy cow. That's
I
insane.
know I'm yapping. Please stop me if I'm
Oh,
talking too
that's
much.
crazy.
So, so this at this point, after I stopped freaking out for a couple days, I was like, okay, I'm in this position. I'm quitting my job anyway. How can I focus this to what I want to do? So I was like, okay, I'll look into being, physical therapy aide. So I looked at jobs around the area and I scored one with someone close by who the supervisor knows people at CSUN. I'm like, okay, when I start the program next year, I'll have connections, I'll get a better idea, I'll have more information going into the field. So I got a job at that PT clinic and I loved it from there. And I was really motivated and it was awesome. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have 6 months of experience going into athletic training school. Months go by, I'm having a great time, and I'm an aide for one of my bosses, which was kind of scary anyway. But there was one patient, he called me in one day, he goes, hey, I want you to come see this. I was like, but he says, no, no, come with me. So I was invited into the room and the patient makes small talk. She goes, oh, so are you in school? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do my master's of athletic training. And my boss looks at me and goes, no, you need to be a physical therapist. And I was like, hmm. And I really respect this guy. Like, he's taught me so much and he really believed in me. And to hear someone that believes in me like that say that to me, I just like everything left my brain and my body. I was like, what? He goes,
Yes.
it's not to me bragging or anything. He goes, your personality and the way you work with people is something we really need in this field. And you need to become a physical therapist. It's a better balance in your life. You're going to enjoy it a lot more than being an athletic trainer. And I was like, okay, whatever you say, yes, I will do anything you tell me. So I started looking into it a little deeper, and I realized it was the most correct thing for me to be doing. And like that's the most literal sense of the word I could use. I just felt like, yeah, this makes so much sense to me and I'm gonna do this. So and to have someone believe in you like that was the pushing factor for me. Like I just hearing someone say like you need to do this, I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. So I kind of dropped everything. I withdrew myself from the master's program. I started taking online classes of my two semester chemistry, two semester physics. I tried to apply that same year to PT CAS, that cycle to start in 2023. I only applied to 4 schools and it was really rushed and I obviously didn't get in anywhere. I was waitlisted at one school, but everyone's like, no. And I was like, okay, that was really stressful. That went really quickly. I need to buckle down for the next cycle. So as I continued to take classes over the next year and a half, I told myself I should really kind of seek help here. I need help. No one knows around me knows what to do. I need to seek help. So I actually found one of Sean's videos on YouTube and I was like, okay, I'm going to look into this. And I started researching the website and his Instagram. And I finally reached out to get some essay coaching because I thought I really had something going with my essay. I'm like, I'm good at writing. This will be great. And I started chatting with Sean and Jenna, and they were like,
Down to earth.
you've made yourself sound like kind of a loser. Let's think about other things in your life. And they brought something completely different out of me. And I was like, whoa, this is really cool. Seeking help is like the best thing you can do. That's one piece of advice. Take help from anywhere you possibly can, because that's what's going to get you far. You need a support system. Like, as strong as you think you are an independent, I think of myself so independent. I don't need you. I don't need anybody. I'm going to do this myself. You need a good support system to get through this process. So, starting with PT App Coach made the biggest difference in my application. Having a solid essay, solid background, and people that are believing in your mission. And it's like people that, they're not in your life, but their purpose is to help you with this particular project. So having them there while I was taking all my other prerequisites was huge coming up to that point. And that's kind of where, right before I submitted applications, that's up to my story up to that point.
So, I mean, lots to unpack there. But I think one of the things the biggest takeaway was you just like never stopped moving. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like when a door would close, you're like, okay, I gotta go get a different job, right? And you just kept moving. And I think so many people are paralyzed by inaction and analysis
Yes.
paralysis that they don't want to, if they don't know what the end is going to be, they're not going to do anything, right?
Yeah.
And if you wouldn't have done, step plan A, B, and C, you wouldn't have gotten to plan D, which was actually plan A. You just didn't know it.
Exactly. It took me all that time and all of that struggle and thinking analysis paralysis to get to where I am right now. But getting through it with that great support system made the biggest difference. Absolutely.
Well, and I think that's also, I agree 100%. Like, collect and surround yourself with good people no matter what you're trying to do, because
Yes.
they will give you the honest and the genuine feedback and advice and direction that will help you get
Yes.
to wherever you're going to end up landing. So that's awesome. And I can't believe we never talked about the crazy athletic training thing. That is
I
insane.
can't believe I didn't tell you either. That's wild. It's like a huge part of my story,
But hey,
but
we
we
learned
got here.
some things.
We're here.
Um, so let's get to some of the fun stuff. So we submit your application, we get everything
Mhm.
done, we work through essays, we work through supplemental essays. We like you mentioned, you had an idea of what you wanted to say, and then we gave you something different. What do you feel like was the
Mhm.
difference between what you wrote versus what we ended up helping you arrive at?
Well, what I was going for was I built confidence by coming out of my shell and like being more comfortable with being myself. What the story actually was, and what you and Jenna read was that, oh, she's making herself sound like a loser with no friends. Let's learn more about you and your life and your history. And I talked about like a big part of building my confidence was working for my dad's furniture store throughout my childhood, my teen years, and things like that, leading in the past few years. You're like, that's really interesting and different. Let's kind of build on that. And that we created like as a team, like with your confidence in me. And I was kind of, playing with words and trying to sound cool and fancy and make everything sound good. We came up with a pretty killer essay. That was really good.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, that's unique. It still says the same thing that you wanted to bring up. It's just in a
Yeah.
different and more engaging way versus like, I don't have any friends and I was scared. Now I'm not,
And
but
like exactly. I'm like, I bartered with rich people in Malibu, and now I'm like, everyone has confidence in me, and I have confidence in myself to give back to you and for you to be able to trust me, which it really relates to the PT field in general. There needs to be a mutual trust in each other, like you as a patient to me as a therapist, and that goes right back to you. It's a team effort. So it has a lot of crossover in sales and retail too.
absolutely. And I think my favorite thing, Hannah, is like you are just oozing with that confidence. Obviously, now you've been like, you've successfully navigated the process,
Yeah.
but there's just this swagger that you have and you talk about it. That's like, it's not obnoxious at all. It is like so refreshing and like this ease of being yourself. And that liberates other people to feel comfortable in their own skin. So that's going to be a blessing for your patients for sure.
Absolutely. I took that being yourself really seriously when it came to interviews because, you're sort of advertising yourself. Of course, I was so nervous like going into all these interviews, but, once you get comfortable and like luckily the people that interviewed me made me feel comfortable enough to sort of be myself and like just put a little bit of humor into everything I do. So,
For
yeah,
sure.
I think that helped quite a bit in like this building confidence over the years from being at my clinic for 2.5 years, seeing all kinds of cases and working with all kinds of people, dealing with people at the furniture store, all of those things kind of led me to the point where I was like good enough to do my interviews and feel good enough about myself to think that I would get in this cycle.
For sure. For sure. And let's talk about that as well with interview coaching, right? And giving you the opportunity to kind of showcase what things you really wanted to talk about. So, how do you feel like that made a difference in your experience when you did go interview at multiple locations?
Yeah, so going into job interviews, I've always kind of been like, I'm gonna wing it. This will be fine. I'll listen to my like peppy songs in the car before going in. This is great. I'll do fine. And I sort of I did wing it for a long time. And I got lucky with my, current job that I'm in for the past 2.5 years. Like it was fine. It went well. Everyone has a great personality. It meshed well. This is serious business. Going into PT school, you need to put on a good face. You need to advertise yourself. I was not comfortable with advertising my strengths because I didn't really know that they were there. Like they were there, but I wasn't like, oh, I did this and this and this. But you have to be comfortable with talking about how great you are. That's something that you and Kyle really pushed on to me. You have to be comfortable with how, like, what you've been through and how great you are and how awesome it is that you got to this point. And you should be really proud of yourself. That's still something that is hard for me, but like you said, you got to kind of fake it till you make it. And if you keep doing that over the interviews, you'll start to believe it. Like, yeah, I'm like really good at my job and doing this. Like, oh, it's like manifesting in my brain that I'm actually really good at this too. So, yeah, you guys having confidence in me and giving me those tips and giving me a structure during the interview process, what to talk about when talking about myself, what to talk about when talking about work, things like having some detailed instructions instead of all these thoughts going around in your head was super helpful from the interview process.
Awesome. Well, and I think my takeaway from that one is our job, our biggest thing that we try to emphasize is our structure and the things that we teach you is to make sure that you don't get in your own way, right? So we give you a framework and then your personality is able to come through because you're not stressed out about what to say or how to say it.
Yeah.
And that's where from, we kind of lay those building blocks with essay coaching,
Yeah.
but then obviously it goes from written to verbal communication with the interviews. And then from
Yeah.
there, you're able to be more confident and articulate. And then when you internalize those principles, like you're saying, it just becomes a part of who you are and adds on to your charisma and your confidence.
Exactly. Yeah, I did have my, Kyle was so great with me. I had my fair share of panicking with him, and he was so cool and calm and collected. He's like, "You got this. Like, just take a deep breath. You'll be fine. Gotta get those curveballs. It's hard. Like doing the interview coaching was difficult. Like being on the spot like that, I was so nervous. I really felt I was like in a real interview, but having that practice before and getting that stress out before going into the real deal definitely made a big difference for me.
That's awesome. Awesome.
So kudos to
I
Kyle. Love that guy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's great. He does a great job. Um,
Yes.
I think on top of that, like you've got to prepare for what you're competing in, right? And this is like you said, this is different than a job interview, right? Where it's like they need someone really bad and they're just grateful that somebody applied for the
Like,
job.
you showed up, you're hired.
Yeah. And, that's not a knock on, obviously you've been a great asset wherever you've gone, but sometimes that is like, oh my gosh, we just need we need somebody to fill
Yeah.
this spot. And in PT
Yes,
school, it's
totally.
like there's a lot of applicants and not a lot of spots. And so it's the reverse problem where it's you really, like you said, you gotta be able to sell yourself, do so effectively and believe it internally. So that way you can exude that confidence and then your message matches your confidence. And then you can go and deliver. So, okay. So we got through multiple interviews. We had some wait list. We had other interview offers that were rejected because you're just like, I have too many things going on, too much good news right now. So
Yes.
let's talk about the kind of when you got down to the final two. And
Yeah.
I know we talked about this before we started the recording, but like, what was that process like when you actually decided one versus the other, and what went into that for which program you chose?
Yeah. So those it's funny because those 2 interviews happened back to back on the same day, and I had a whole crazy interview weekend back in November. Those 2 were back to back over Zoom. I was in a hotel room in Las Vegas because I was waiting to go to interview at UNLV the next day where I got waitlisted, which is cool. And so I got news from the one AT still that one day, and then I heard back from Midwestern like a week later. I was like, "Oh my gosh, those 2 schools." I was stressed out so bad. I can't believe they want me. This is awesome. So I was coming down to my decisions after I got more results. I'm like, "Okay, this is kind of where I'm at right now, these final 2 schools." After, some interviews I didn't want to do, some interviews I was like, "Okay, I'm comfortable with these 2 being my choices that I'm going between." So I took a trip out to Arizona, and my goal was to see the schools in person. I think that you wanna see where you're gonna live for the next couple of years. You wanna get the vibe, you wanna drive around, see, where the closest supermarket is. You wanna see if the faculty's cool. You wanna see if, like, where you're gonna live is gonna be decent and if you're close to school at all. So, I started by Phoenix Airport. We drove out to Mesa, just me and my mom. We toured AT Still. I really liked it. Um, I was like, "Okay, this is something, but let's" and they were sort of originally top of my list at first. And so I was like, "Okay, seeing this, we'll see how we feel." I was like, "Okay, it's reminding me of my undergrad. It's not a bad thing. I wanna see the other campus next." It's interesting because I didn't think much of them at first, don't tell them that, but once I did the interview, which was kinda long and daunting, I was like, "Oh," like, they kinda challenged me in a good way, and I really like where they're at. Like, their faculty is great at communicating, there was a very professional, well laid out interview, and so I went to the campus, and I was just sort of awestruck, and I sort of had that reminiscent feeling back of when I was told to be a PT, like, this is the correct campus for me. Like, gorgeous campus. I just felt something going into it. I was like, I think I might err towards them. I definitely was like, there's no other thinking I have to do. Like, this is what I'm gonna do. And it just felt like the right choice from right there. And so I gave them my deposit, a week before things were due, and it went from there. It didn't really feel real at first, but it was, thinking back on the process, I could have gone other ways and could have waited for other schools and interviewed at other places, but if trust your gut in these situations. You know what's right for you, and you have to think of things financially. You have to think of where you're going to live. Do you like this area? Are you going to have a good support system in the school you're going to? So those are my big things, and I think that all those boxes were checked for me at Midwestern, which is where I'm going next year
Where
in the
to
summer.
go? The big reveal.
Woo! The big reveal, that's it.
Yes. Well, that's awesome, Anna. So, I mean, again, so much to unpack there, but I love going in person because there is like I understand sometimes when it's like you just have to do virtual and it is what it is, but going in person, you will learn things that you cannot learn. It's just the way it is. And that you really took the
Yeah, like
time to be
figuring out the
like,
freeway system and the streets and stuff. Yeah, sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
all those things. All like just the logistics of living in an area. Like you are going to spend a significant amount of time in this area the next little bit, and you should like it. You should feel comfortable there. You should feel
Yeah,
supported by the people who are going to be around you. And it's also, depending on the structure of the interview, it gives you an opportunity to also meet some of your classmates as well, depending on that. So,
yeah,
um, I just think letting people know about that process is great, and also the trusting your gut. Like this comes up frequently in these interviews when we have multiple acceptance offers and people are deciding. Best problem to have, right? Of like, okay, we have multiple
yeah,
options. Where are we going to go? And I remember that from my own experience of Like we had a variety of different options to choose, and then you just go. And there's not really like
Mhm.
there's nothing said, or it's just a feeling that you
It's
have. Like
yeah,
this is it. This is the place.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been a Valley girl my entire life, quintessential Valley girl in LA. And I don't know anybody in Arizona, but I think I'm ready to take that step out of my little radius that I'm in and that I've been in for most of my life and see something different, do something different, especially while in school, meet new people, see new places, and do something fun. And while I'm, grinding and getting to the career that I really love and that I'm really excited to do. So I think that was also a really big factor in my decision.
Arizona is great. You will like it here. It's wonderful.
I'm excited.
Yeah, there's
I don't
like
know
go
about
north.
summer, but we'll see.
Summer is it's gonna be different because people from California, you
Yeah.
know nice weather. You know how nice weather is. And we have nice weather for like 7 months, and then you have summer for five, and it's rough.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
it's not bad. You don't have to shovel the sunshine, so it's not snow
Yes.
for that measure.
Thank goodness.
And but it's great, and you can go escape in the mountains. You can go camping. There's all kinds of like outdoorsy stuff to do, and
Yeah.
there's always like tons of in Phoenix. You always have lots of concerts and events and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So yeah, I feel like you get a
Yes.
lot of the benefits of like obviously Phoenix is the fifth largest city in the U.S. So it doesn't seem like it, but it's a
Really?
humongous
Oh,
city.
I didn't know. Fascinating.
So you get all the benefits of a big city, but you also can escape to the mountains, and you can,
Yes.
and it's a little cheaper than California, a little bit
Oh
cheaper.
my gosh. When I saw the gas prices, I was like, I'm sold. That's it. I'm good. Here it's like 450. Over there it was like 320. I was like, yup, I'm coming. Yeah, I'm sold.
But okay,
So funny.
Hannah, well, you've given us so many good nuggets through this interview, and I'm sure people will just be like, gosh, she's just this ball of energy and she's so infectious in a good way, not a diseased way. Um,
Yeah. I
but
mean, listen, I know I talk a lot, but I hope my story sort of resonates with people. And you can do hard things, and everything will happen as it should. So you will see the light at the end of the tunnel. That's my biggest thing. You're going to take all these classes. I remember doing my microbiology, my physics, my chemistry. I'm like, this is horrible. But I'm also looking for that moment where I get that acceptance email. And I had that feeling. I was like, this is so awesome. I finally feel it. We did it.
I,
So get through those classes. You will get that email. Everything will be okay. You got this.
yes, Hannah, I want to apply to PT school all over again just because of your yes.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to suffer again, but yeah, there you
No,
go.
I don't. I'm just kidding. I do it every year about 100 times. So
You get to live vicariously through
through
the
all of
rest of
you.
us. So it
Yes.
works out okay.
Yes. Okay, well, Hannah, don't be a stranger. We'll definitely do a check-in and be like, "Hey, how was your first semester? How was your first year? Whatever." We
Yes.
love doing those little follow-up videos to catch up with
Yeah.
people and
Oh
just
my
see how
gosh.
they've grown and their perspective change and things like that. And since you're in Arizona, we gotta hang out. We gotta do it.
Yes, I know. We can do an in-person interview thing. That could be really
We
fun.
can interview each other using the interview coaching.
Whoa. Oh my
It'd
gosh, that could yeah,
be
we
so
could so
fun.
do that. That'd be awesome.
All right, Hannah,
Yes,
you
I
take
love it.
care. Don't be a stranger. And best of luck with everything with the move and starting school. On to the next phase of the journey.
There we go. I can't thank you guys enough. You've been such a huge part of this journey and cannot begin to express my gratitude enough. You've been awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hannah. Take care.
All right, you too.